can't believe it's still snowing. But my board is so dirty, and you don't want to be greasy. You got to keep your stuff clean. So we're going to take this board and we're going to clean it. Sorry, Charlie. That's my lizard, Charlie. He's the same color as my skate banana. But anyways, we're going to clean this thing, and you can see all the diesel fuel, everything in it. We're going to clean it, and then just like Charlie, he likes to be warm. You like to get your board all warm and put that hot wax in so it soaks in, so it lasts longer, and your rides last longer, and you're going to get through the flats. So you could ride the chaos all day into this endless winter. I'm so stoked. All right, time to get down and dirty. Let's clean this puppy. I'm going to have my Swix base cleaner, very flammable. Noxious fumes. You might get a little lightheaded if you don't have a well-ventilated area. I'm also going to be careful of what I'm wearing. All this stuff, you got to be very careful. It will ruin your clothes. It will cause a fire. You want to think about putting all your rags or anything you're using, dispose of in a safe way. Now, you can use the typical green Brillo pad. I'm going to use the strongest one of Swix. I'm going to set these aside. And this is what I'm going to be cleaning with. I'm going to take paper towels. I take like 2 of these little sheets. I fold it. And then I put it behind the Brillo pad. Then I open it up. Got a rag in case anything gets crazy, got any crazy spills. As it says in the instructions, I'm going to pour a little bit on here. Evenly. Now this paper towel will catch what goes through. And then I'm going to cap this thing and set it on the ground where I won't kick it. Now, I'm going to put it out of sight right there, making sure my dog, if you have a dog or a cat, doesn't come in and knock that over. And then I'm going to go ahead and in circular motions, I'm going to start to clean this puppy. Nice and clean. Took off any places where the wax had gotten scaly or built up. It's all perfectly smooth and clean as a newborn baby's ass. Now, I got this iron. I've used it for seasons. It's a Swix iron. Now I made sure that I got rid of my, did you notice I'm wearing new clothes, wardrobe change. Got rid of all my flammable stuff. That's all outside. Warmed up my iron. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to warm her up. I'm going to, a little bit of foreplay. I'm going to go ahead and run over my board with the iron and get the pores opened up. And I'm just going to go ahead and warm it up. As you're doing this, you feel through the other side. If it starts to feel real hot, then it's too much. You don't want to delaminate your board as well. But right now what I'm doing is I'm going through and I'm warming up the board. Just be patient as I'm warming it up. There's no wax on it because I just cleaned it. But this allows for the wax to really penetrate deep into your board and stick with your board. You notice that your wax will last longer when you do this. Starting to heat up. And I'm feeling through to make sure that it's not getting like mega hot and pulling the layers of your board apart. Okay, now I feel a little bit of warmth on the other side, not too much. I like the way that my board feels right now. It's starting to warm up. I'm going to use Hurdle Wax, the hot sauce wax. I heat iron to 190 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, I get my board all warmed up. I got my wax. Now, if it starts to really smoke black, that means you're too hot. And I'm going to drip some wax on it. I do my, everybody's different. I like to do a pattern where I go along the edge. You don't want to use so much wax that there's like this fine balance between, using enough wax and then how much you have to scrape off. And then now what I do is I go ahead and I snake it through the middle. That's just my technique. And then I put this on my plastic. Go ahead and rub her in. Starting where I was kind of furthest away to get that before it hardens up too fast. Evenly distributing this as much as possible, and you're thinking the same thing as you evenly use patterns to do so. Kind of like a spray tan, right? You want it to be nice and even strokes. I'm looking at it as I do it to try to see if I can see areas that are not even or areas that did not get wax. You might notice this is a tricky board. It has the wave edge technology on it. It's a LibTech. Love it. Works great, but it does make some things a little bit tricky. And got a little sugar booger hanging off the side over there. I find on a snowboard and skis this to be a little bit of a tricky part. One more pass. I like that I cleaned it because the wax is just translucent. If you don't do the base cleaning that I did previously, that if you skip that step, which you do, I do skip that sometimes, but not when it's dirty, you'll notice sometimes your wax is a little bit dark, or it'll start to pick up that dirt as it's coming out. Got a real clean wax happening here. And then I feel through the other side as well. Okay, cool. It is cool. It's not too hot. You just want to make sure that you're not overcooking your board at any time of this process. All right. Now I'm going to let it just chill. Some people let theirs chill overnight. I'm just going to wait, probably do my wife's skis, and then come back to it and scrape it. As I'm letting the wax cure and harden, I also did my wife's skis. You can do the same exact things I'm doing with my board for your skis. It's both. It's really easy process. I just did this one. Let's talk a little bit about how much this setup is going to cost you. I have this nice collapsible table that I put in my garage. This is like 20 bucks. Then the different kinds of Brillo pads. That last Brillo pad, it's in the fireproof can. But these come in a set. They're really inexpensive. I have different brushes for brushing. We'll talk about that. Inexpensive, I think $11 to $15. My iron was very inexpensive as well. I think it was 35 bucks. I got a tuning kit, edge tuning. We'll talk briefly about that. You may or may not be comfortable doing that. But especially if you see some rust, you want to do that. That thing was like 20 bucks. And then you got your scrapers. Scrapers are very inexpensive. You might get them as swag too. Really not expensive at all. And the wax itself is like for a big 3/4 pound block of hurdle wax is about 17 bucks. So I also got, these are the most expensive part. These Swix stands that go and clamp onto something on the bottom down here. These guys, I think the set was 60 to 75 bucks. You can also put things inside of them, as so. Like if I'm going to be working on my edges. Think about a board wax or ski wax at a shop, how much that costs, and the time to go, drop it off, pick it up, is it going to be done? Who is going to be doing your wax shop? Are they going to be doing as good of work as you would do on your own? Are they greasy? Something to think about. Okay, let's get back into the board. It's cured long enough, and now we can scrape it. Now, I got my nose. I like to scrape from the nose back, and I like to kind of think about how this thing is going to be going through the snow. I like to take my scraper with the little notch cut out, and I like to go along the edge, and I like to get, whoa, this is the wave technology on my LibTech, using my belly to stabilize. I'm going to get that first. That's just my personal preference. I like to do that and get that off. Be careful because this edge can be sharp, the metal edge. Because really your edge should have no wax on it. Your metal edge should have no wax on it. You need that edge for control, turning, everything. Your edge is so important. Okay, Now, I like to use a big one for my scraping, and I like to use the nose back. So if you notice, my board, the bindings, I have it so that I can put a lot of on top of this thing. I'm going to manhandle this thing. I'm going to manhandle it. Okay, now I'm going to scrape it back. Just going to peel off the wax. You're like, wait, what are you doing? You just put all that on there. Nah, there's enough in there. You're going to leave some, but you got to just keep pulling it back and scraping it. Okay, now I got all these little ribbons. What I personally like to do is take that and put that into a trash can. Whatever work surface you're working on, this floor is going to be like an ice skating rink. I'm going to run out here in my socks probably 2 times and slip. So I'm going to take a moment and put that in the trash can. Go ahead and work the nose a little bit. I like to go like this. See, I'm putting my whole body into it. A lot of times wax will build up right in this area, right on this hump. You can also clean off your scraper every once in a while. You could switch up the angle. See how I just switched it up? Switch up the angle. Lighting is important too, so you can really see your work. How do you know when you're done scraping? Your biggest thing is making it smooth. You don't want it to be chunky. Chunky monkey. Like you're looking at it, you're like, how much more wax could you possibly get off this thing? A lot. You're like, oh my gosh, there's no more wax. Might need to use my belly. Having a belly can be very useful for waxing your board. But not good for when you're trying to get up. Usually, to be quite honest, I love rocking out while I'm doing this. Got some tunes blasting. I'm in the groove. I'm thinking about shredding. Okay, I like that. Now I'm just going to lightly brush it off. The next step, people have different theories on this and different preferences, I'd say more too. But it's good if you get all the good chunks off. Some people just take a Brillo pad and run a Brillo pad over it. Some people take cork and then they take cork and they polish it. What I like to do is I like to take my brush and I like to go across the length of the board like it was one of those buffing machines. And this is how I like to wrap up my waxing. I don't know, I think it's maybe from carpentry, but I like big, even strokes. Don't be afraid to manhandle your board. Some people from this point take the finest one and then they go over it. Some people then like to take a cork too. They like to push on it and push that wax into the board. Just demonstrating all the different styles. Kind of making sure I know, like if I'm mowing the lawn, where my last strip was. Okay, sometimes now I like to use my other brush and then go over it one more time. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to check my edges. This is where we get into a little bit of edge tuning. You got your edge tuner. Mine's difficult because it's wavy, but you can go through and tune your edge a little bit. I just tune my edges, so I want to be careful. You don't want to take off your edge because you can't put it back. If you're into edge tuning, what you want to do is you take your edge tuner and you make sure that you have it on it's just a file actually. There's a coarse one and usually a finer one in your kit. And then what you want to do is get it so that it's perfectly lined up so that when you're going across the edge, There it is. Now mine's tricky because I have a wave edge. But I have a couple little sections here. And you could just go through and you could tune your edge one direction like you're sharpening a knife. You know what I really do that for is the rust spots. The rust spots, you can actually tune your edge and file it a little bit more if you find that you're catching an edge in the back. You can soften that edge by filing it with this edge tuner. You're tuning the edge, and that way, let's say I'm riding, I'm regular footed, and I find that that back tail edge is catching. It's just sticking. Then when I'm looking at my board, then I go, okay, whoa, okay. Then I'm like, it's this edge. This edge seems like it's catching, and then you could just tune it down a little bit. Filing it off would be tuning it, and then that would not be cutting into the snow or hanging up as much. Especially when your board's new, it could be a little cutting into the snow like that. All right. But as far as edge tuning goes, I kind of leave it to the pros sometimes too. At the beginning, I feel comfortable doing it myself, but I also have a wavy board, which is kind of tricky. Make sure there's no rust on your board. Inspecting your board, making sure, like as you're looking through it, you're going to get some chips. That's totally normal on the top. One of the big things you want to watch out for is dings. You hit it and the layers are spreading apart. That's bad news. You want to get that fixed, repaired. I've had something on here somewhere repaired, but they did a good job with the P-Tex. I can't even find it. What it'll do is you can get water in there and it'll start to delaminate. Okay, so you inspect your board and you're ready to go. Oh, there it is. See this little edge right here? This chipped off and they just P-Texed it over. All right, so being the master of your own equipment, I think adds a lot to the quality of your ride. Okay, ride the chaos. She's gonna be so happy with me. She's gonna love Big D. Ooh, you're still there? If you would like to subscribe to my channel, that would be phenomenal. I got lots more videos about bikes, skateboards, all kinds of stuff. Let me know if there's something you'd like to see as well. But please subscribe to my channel if you're interested, and thank you so much for watching.